It's all good. The crops are harvested, the children are well fed, the taxes are paid. And then a monk comes and says that in 40 days, it's over. And you know what? You believe him. You're selling the house, you distribute the goods, you're waiting. The end, of course, does not come, but the monk has long since left. He lives well, by the way. This is not a textbook story. This is a story that repeats itself over and over, with different decorations, different technologies, different monks. Sometimes in a cassock, sometimes in military uniform, sometimes in an expensive suit in front of the camera. The question I want to ask today is, why is the end of the world such a convenient idea? Convenient for whom? Humanity is afraid of death, that's obvious. But here's the interesting thing. For some reason, we are afraid not just of our own death, but of collective death, the end of everything, the apocalypse. And this fear is one of the most powerful mechanisms of control over people in history. Why does the idea of the end of the world in all epochs turn out to be politically beneficial? And to whom exactly? This is not a question of religion, not a question of science. It's a question of power, about how the fear of non-existence turns into a tool of control over the living. Most people explain apocalyptic narratives simply. People are afraid of death, so they come up with stories about the end. It's a kind of collective neurosis, existential anxiety. Religion provides a framework to comprehend this fear. And there is truth in this. Psychologists do record that the feeling of impending disaster reduces the anxiety of uncertainty, because the catastrophe, even if terrible, is at least understandable. This is called the apophenia of catastrophism. The brain prefers a scary but clear scenario to a blurred, unpredictable reality. Another popular explanation is that the end of the world is just a forecasting error. People saw cataclysms, plague, war, famine, and concluded, that's it, this is the end. Then we survived. Then we waited for the end again. Nicely, logically, and incomplete. That's where the fun begins. If apocalyptic narratives are just the fear of death or forecasting errors, why do they so conveniently coincide with moments when someone needs power? Look at the dates. The year 999 is the end of the millennium. The whole of Europe is in a panic. Who calms the panic and assumes the role of mediator between people and God? That's right, the Church. And this is not a coincidence. 1349, the plague mows down a third of Europe. Explanation: the end of the world, God's punishment, the Jews poisoned the wells. Spoiler: no. Who benefits from this narrative? Those who have the right to declare God's will and point out the culprits. Notice the pattern. An apocalyptic narrative almost always appears at a time when the existing government needs to either strengthen its position, shift attention, or mobilize resources. The end of the world is not a prediction, it's a management tool. And the people who use it know this very well. We always knew. Let's start with the basics. Why does it work? The human brain is designed in such a way that threatening the survival of a group activates mechanisms that psychologists call terror management. This is the discovery of Jeff Greenberg and Sheldon Solomon, and it explains a lot. When a person is reminded of death, his own or a collective one, he begins to cling more strongly to his group, to his leader, to his values. He's becoming less critical, more obedient, more aggressive towards those he considers strangers. It's not a weakness, this is evolution. 1,000,000 years ago, this reaction saved lives. But today, it turns people into an ideal audience for those who know how to manage fear. The apocalyptic narrative triggers exactly this reaction, and with a vengeance, because the threat is total, not individual. the end of everything. And there's a man standing next to me who says, I know how to save myself. Let's go back to the year 999. This is one of the most obvious examples. Pope Sylvester II, the then pontiff, was well aware that on the eve of the new millennium, the people were waiting for the end of the world, because the Apocalypse of John could well have been read that way. And what's going on? Instead of calming the panic, the church skillfully channels it. People donate property to monasteries in case of the end. Wealth is redistributed. The power of the church is being strengthened. Then January 1st, 1000 comes quietly without the apocalypse, and the church announces prayers have helped. It's a great scheme, isn't it? You scare me. You collect resources. You take on the salvation. Then you take credit. And it was repeated. The year 1033, the millennium of the Passion of Christ, a new wave of apocalyptic expectations, a new stream of donations, a new consolidation of power. Not a single apocalypse has happened, but every time someone made good money from it. Fast forward to the 20th century. The atomic bomb is a real threat. Real, no mysticism. Nevertheless, look at how it is managed. The 1950s. The USA and the USSR are in a state of Cold War. The threat of a nuclear strike is maximum rhetorically, but in reality, neither side wants mutual destruction. What's happening? A massive civil defense campaign is being launched in the United States. School children hide under their desks from an imaginary bomb. Duck and cover. Bomb shelters are being built all over the country. Hollywood makes dozens of films about the nuclear disaster. Families buy food supplies for 3 years. Is it fear? Yes, but it's also something else. This is a reason for military budgets. This is the rationale for restricting civil liberties, McCarthyism. It is a mechanism for consolidating the nation around the state. In the USSR, the same thing is mirrored, only in a different wrapper. The most beautiful thing about this story is that the threat was real, but the level of fear that was broadcasted to the population was carefully calibrated politically. Not too little, otherwise there will be no reason for military expenses. Not too much, otherwise panic and social disintegration will begin. A controlled apocalypse, metered dose horror. Be careful here. I'm not saying that the climate crisis isn't real. He's real. The data is real. But look at how the narrative is used by different parties. On one hand, climate activism is turning into an apocalyptic message. We have 10 years left. The Earth is dying. This is the end of civilization. This language is taken directly from religious apocalypticism, and it works exactly the same way. It mobilizes, it brings us together, creates an enemy. On the other hand, corporations that have been financing climate crisis denial for decades have also used the apocalypse, only of a different kind. If they adopt green laws, it's the end of the economy, the end of jobs, the end of the country. 2 camps, 2 apocalypses. One question is, who benefits from each of these narratives? When everyone is shouting about the end of the world, look who is quietly shifting resources. Good. We have analyzed the mechanism using specific examples. Now let's go higher and see how it works at the system level. The apocalyptic narrative is a universal tool that works on several levels simultaneously. Power. Any government, religious, political, or media, benefits from having an existential enemy. The threat of the end legitimizes emergency measures. It gives a reason to demand sacrifices. It allows you to suppress dissent. Now is not the time for discussions. Economy. The apocalyptic fear is a huge market. Shelters, stocks, weapons, insurance, dietary supplements for the end of the world, cryptocurrencies as a salvation from the collapse of the system. Each new version of the apocalypse generates a new economy of fear. Ideology. The apocalypse always needs a narrative about the culprit. Who brought us to the end? Jews, the heretics, the communists, the capitalists, migrants. It's a scapegoat-making mechanism, and it's worked in every era with frightening stability. Culture. Apocalyptic narratives form a collective identity. We are the ones who will survive. We are the chosen ones. We are the last. This gives meaning to the existence of the group, and that makes it manageable. Note that all these levels work regardless of whether the threat is real or not. The mechanism is the same with a real apocalypse and a fictional one. It scares me more than the idea of the end of the world. So we've come to the main point. That's why I started this conversation. We used to think that apocalyptic narratives are about the fear of death, but this is not the case. It's about the fear of life. A life without meaning, without structure, without an answer to the question why. The end of the world is not a forecast. It's a narrative that gives people what they sorely lack in everyday life: certainty, belonging, and significance. "I'm living in the last days" is not terrible, oddly enough. It's comfortable, because it means my life matters. I am an eyewitness to the end. I am part of the main event of the story. And here is the point where everything converges. Politicians, priests, and ideologists of all eras knew one thing. A man who feels like an extra in history is dangerous. He's asking questions. He doubts it. He's rebelling. But a person who believes that he is living in an epochal moment, a person who has been told that the fate of the world is being decided right now, this person is obedient. He is willing to make sacrifices. He's willing to put up with it, because this is the end. We'll figure it out later. The apocalypse is not about what will happen, it's about what they're depriving you of now. The right to an ordinary, non-scandalous, non-pretentious life without universal stakes. Every time they tell you that everything is about to end, ask, who benefits from you thinking that way right now? Not because the threats are fake, sometimes they're real, but manipulation works best when mixed with the truth. Every generation thought they were living in the last days. Every generation has made mistakes, and in doing so has left behind a world a little worse or a little better. Not because the end has come, it's because people made choices. That's what really interests me. If the end of the world is a tool, then its opposite is also a tool. The idea that everything will continue, what will happen tomorrow, that your actions today have consequences, not cosmic, not apocalyptic, but the most ordinary, everyday human. Perhaps the most revolutionary act in a world where everyone is crying out for the end is quietly to plant a tree. The one who convinces you that it's over wants you to stop building. Ask yourself the question, what exactly is he building while you're waiting for the end?